All right, welcome everyone. It's Dawn Duvall with Shall We Stamp. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I am coming to you pre-recorded from Fort Myers, Florida. We've had some connectivity issues for those of you that may be new to my page. So I've pre-recorded this video, but next week I will be coming to you live. We have purchased a new internet connection that is working wonderful, so we will I'll be back live next week. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be working with the Eden's Garden stamp set, and I'm going to be using this stamp and this one. We're going to be doing one of the triple, it's a triple layered card. I'm not sure what the exact name of it is, but I'm going to give you the measurements as we go. And let me show you the card, and I'm sure you all have seen these before. This is what we're going to be creating, but of course we're going to use it in different colors. Let me get it closer to the camera. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to stamp the white, basic white, and we're going to be using polished pink this evening. And I think I'm going to use Just Jade and Granny Apple Green for the leaves. And then we're going to use the polished pink ribbon as well on a base of black. And then it's going to be open this way, and then of course we'll have our white piece to put on the inside. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll give you the dimensions as we go along, okay? All right, so let's move this out of the way. And I've already got everything pre-cut. So we're starting out with a piece of basic black that is 4 1/4 by 11. And we're gonna score that in half, which would be 5 1/2. So let's go ahead and get our cardstock in here and get that scored. And I know this is dark paper, but hopefully you should be able to see. So we always wanna do half of whatever our length of our cardstock is, and this would be if you're doing a very, a typical card, okay? So we're gonna score that at 5 1/2. All right, now we're gonna come back, and I'm gonna go ahead and fold this, so this will be ready when we get started. Now what I do is I fold, and if for some reason the ends don't match up, then I may fold it a different way, but this is pretty close, so I hold the edges together, and then I take my bone folder and just give it a good crease. Okay, so we're gonna set this off to the side for right now because we don't need this at the moment. All right, now we're gonna come in. Let me give you the other, let me give you the basic white pieces that we're gonna be using. We've got one piece that's 4 by 5 1/4, and that's gonna go on the front layer of our card. And then we've got a second piece that's 3 inches by 4 1/4, and that's going to go in the center there. And then this one is 2 by 3 1/4, so they're going to be layered like that. And then we're going to have a fourth piece, which is for our sentiment, and this is 3/4 of an inch by 2 inches. Okay, and then I'll give you the black when we get ready to add those. So the first thing I'm going to do, now you can add a little bit of adhesive to the I've had this paper folded, so my apologies. It's kind of wanting to roll up, so let me squish it down some. So you can add a small amount of adhesive or tape that doesn't tear. So I'm using the Post-it note labeling and cover up tape. So I'm going to cut off or tear a piece of this, whoops, and a couple of pieces, and I'm just going to roll it up because I want I'm going to move this piece of paper over my card thing because it's actually got that thing. So I'm going to put this on the back side of my white, and then I'm going to lay it down and get it centered on my card base, on the card that's the larger one, right? So I'm going to lay that there. I'm trying not to make it too bumpy because I don't want it to interfere. Let me pull this up for 1 second. Let me look at it, make sure it's straight. I think that's good. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to wrap that around, squish it down, and then I'm going to put this in the center of this one right here. And this is how we're going to get our layered look, okay? And let's see, how are we looking? Let me flip on this light and see if this would help. Hang on 1 second. I don't know if that helps or not, but we'll give it a shot and see. We may have a little bit more shadowing, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so there is our layers, and now we're going to start stamping. Now I typically go in with my large pieces first, and then I come back and fill in the smaller areas with the smaller stamp sets. So I'm going to start with the flower, okay? And then again, we're going to use polished pink for the flower. And I'm going to stamp all 4 corners because I want to have this, well, maybe not all 4, but I want to have a good portion of it on the card itself. Hopefully those shadows aren't going to be too much in the way. I'm going to, let me move in just a little bit, and I'll make sure that I take this out of movement. I noticed I did that in the last video. So, but thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to ink this up in polished pink. So let me get some ink on here. And this is a distinctive stamp. So this is one that looks like it might not have enough ink on it and all that. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to start stamping my layers, okay? So I'm going to stamp up in the top left corner, and I'm just going to place my stamp down. I'm going to let it sit for a minute or two so that I make sure my ink transfers. And I've got that. And then I'm going to come back, and it's random. It's however you want to do it. So I'm going to put one right here on the side. Okay, and then I'm going to come back, and I may do a let's see, let's just do a smaller one right about here. All right, so there's that, and I think that might be good with the stamp. I think that will be fine. So let's go ahead and move on to our adding our leaves, and this is where we're going to fill in. Okay, so we've got 2 other colors, and I'm going to use 2 other stamps with that. So I'm going to come in with the larger of the flower, and then I've got the smaller one. Let me go ahead and clean my ink off my one stamp. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the larger one, and you can see this is the one that I'm going to be using. And I think I'm going to do this one. I think I'm going to do this one in, I'm debating if I want to do green. I'm doing just jade because I thought that would be pretty, and I'm not sure if I should do succulent. I'm going to do a granny, and then I'm going to do a just jade and see which one I like. I may switch the granny to soft succulent. So let's go ahead and give that a try. I'm going to go ahead and stamp one of these first in the granny apple, and we'll see what it looks like. But I think it's going to look nice because I think it's going to give it a pop of color. So let's go ahead and let's put one right about here. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Actually, I think that'll look good. So all right, let's go ahead and put some more of these on here, and then I'm going to come back and fill in with the other stamp. And we're just going to randomly stamp them on here. And we want to try to fill in as many corners as we can. And keep in mind now we've got another color that we're going to be adding. So let me go ahead and let's see. Let's hold off. Let's pull in our just jade, and let's start adding that one, and then we'll go between the 2. All right. So this is the small stamp set that has the little I guess they're berries on it, if you can see that. So we're going to use this one. So I'm going to just go ahead and start randomly stamping this. Oh, I think that'll look fine. And I may stamp off and get a lighter shade. Yeah, I think that looks good. And let's bring one down here. And then I'm going to come back and I'll fill in again with some of the granny apple. So let's get this one in the corner. We want to make sure we get them stamped all the way down. And I think we'll put one right here. And really, again, it's whatever you feel like doing, okay? So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to do my granny apple because I want to put some more color. So I'm going to go ahead and put one here. And I think I'm going to bring one over here. And we're going to come down just a little bit and over. Yeah, I think that'll look good. And let's do this one like that. Okay. Whoops, I used the wrong ink. Oh, well. There we go. We got 2 next to each other. That's why you shouldn't have your ink next to each other. This is what happens. So let's go ahead and, I don't want to get too much on there, but I do want to have, I think I want to do, I'm going to stamp this off. I think what I'm going to do, let me clean this. I don't want my stem. I'm just going to put the leaves on this one in the granny apple. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to get my ink off. There we go. All right, I'm just going to ink up the leaves themselves and not the stem. And I'm going to place this one right about here. All right, so it looks like it's coming out of there. And I think we'll do, I think that's pretty good. I think we're good. Well, you know what? Let me do this one more time. I'm going to just do a little bit because I'm going to have a little splash in between these two right here. So we'll just do that. Now you can turn your paper if you want. I'm just turning my stamp upside down. So I think that's good for now. I think that will look fine. All right, and again, this is a pretty easy stamp. All you do is, you know, get all your stuff stamped. And the biggest challenge is making sure that you get your basic white cardstock tacked down so it doesn't move, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna clean my stamps off real quick. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and bring our card base back in. And then I'm going to gently pull these apart and take my tape off and see how it's left us our image. Isn't that pretty? Wait till next week. Oh my gosh, you have to join me next week because I'm doing a 4-in-1 card. I'm just going to leave it at that. And you've got to come back and watch that. Okay, so now we're ready to add our layers. So we've got 2 pieces, additional pieces of basic black. And this is 4.5, so it's 4.5 this way by 2 1/4, and then I have I'm sorry, scratch that, pardon me, it's 3 3/8 by 4.5, apologies, and then this is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2, and then I have a small piece that I used our contoured I think it's the contoured scallop dies if I'm not mistaken, and I cut a scrap for our sentiment. Okay, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere these pieces to our pieces together. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach this to our card base. So let me get my adhesive, and again I'm using my multi-purpose glue, and all of these supplies can be found in my online store, and I'll have the link down below in the video information. And there is a host code, so if and that will be listed as well. So if you do place an order from my online store, make sure you use the host code if your order is less than $150, and then you will receive a gift from me as my thank you for making a purchase. Now if your order is $150, then you will get the rewards that you'll be able to use for yourself. All right, now I am adjusting my first layer on here, and I'm trying to do this by sitting down here, so bear with me. And I want to make sure I've got it evenly, which I keep putting the left side down, so I think I might have to stand up. Give me a minute. I'm going to peel this up one more time because it's not going to look as pretty if we don't do it the right way. All right, so we're going to lay this down, and it's easier, you know, when you're sitting down, it's kind of hard to see what you're doing, right? So we're going to lay that right about there, and then we're going to bring this down. There we go. Okay. All right, so there's that. Now we're going to put this off to the side for just a moment. Now I'm going to bring in these 2 pieces. So this one's going to be attached to this one. And I said it's a very easy card. All right, so this one. And the next card that I'm doing is a easy one as well, so it's really going to be, these are going to be 2 easy cards that you can make in no time. Okay, all right, there's that one, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach this one to here. So we're going to do the same thing, just apply our adhesive, make sure you get your corners so they don't lift up. We'll go ahead and attach that onto here. And these pretty colors, I really think the pink and the black just really pop, don't you think? All right, so we have our 2 layers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this one, and I'm just going to use, I'm not going to put any dimensionals, so we're going to attach this one. I'm going to go ahead and add my Tombow or multi-purpose glue. All right, and then we're going to add some ribbon before we attach this to the base of the card. All right, and then we're going to lay it down. Now look at that, isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that pretty? Look at those colors. Don't they just pop with the black? And I really think the Granny Apple Green in the Just Jade looks really, really nice. All right, so now, before we attach this to our card base, we're going to add our ribbon. So we're going to use our polished pink sheer, open weave sheared ribbon. And we're going to wrap this around and tie it into a bow. So I'm going to measure my four wraps, 3, whoops, and 4. So I'm going to cut it right about there. All right, and that just helps me measure enough to where I can wrap it around and tie it into a bow. So we'll go ahead and lay this down, and we'll get our bow on here. And then once we have it in place, then we'll adjust where we want the bow to be positioned, because I can slide it up or down. All right, so and I'll probably move it down to get closer to the bottom of the card, so we have room for our sentiment. All right, and then we're going to just pull this one down and around. Look, you think I knew what I was doing here, huh? Whoops, I spoke too soon. Look at that. Told you I shouldn't have said anything. All right, let's try this one more time. I know it's always I always laugh. I should just use my bow maker because it's so much easier. Do you all have a bow maker? Are you familiar with those? I love my bow maker. It does make things so much easier. I actually had several made that I do have for sale. It just makes your life easier when you're tying bows. Okay, so I'm pulling my tails down, and then I'm going to tighten it up, because as you know, you want to get them a little bit smaller, so when you tighten them, they're going to get bigger, right? So let's go ahead and pull this down again. I'm holding the center of the knot on my bows, on the loops, to keep them in place. And then I'm just going to try to pull tight again. And it does bring them up bigger, but I think that's going to be fine. I don't think that's too bad. The other one I did a knot. So if you look at this one, I did tie a knot. But I think this one will look cute with a bow. And but I do think that my loops are a little bit too big still. So I'm going to just bear with me. I'm going to pull these down again. I know I'm getting a little particular. So I'm going to pull them down a lot smaller. And then I can tighten them up, and the bow, there we go, and then the bow won't be so big. All right, so we have our bow, and let me just pull a little bit more. I know, this is being a little picky, isn't it? Okay, so there's our bow. Let me get my loop down here, I always kind of pull them down to get them in position, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim up the tails. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'm using my ribbon shears. Or yeah, ribbon shears. I just don't think what they're called. Okay, all right, so we have that. All right, so there we go with that. And just to let you know, I am doing a new Stamp into Spring class, and it's going to be, I don't want to say it's an all-day event, but it's going to be where I'm going to tack this down so it doesn't move. I know we're going to glue this down, but I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive back here so it doesn't move. I'm going to be offering like a one-day event, if you will, and it's going to be having a Facebook Live, 2 sessions. I'm going to do some giveaways, and it's going to be a card class. You're going to get kits and door prizes and celebration and all that stuff. So I'll have more information for you this next week. All right, so I've got my bow on there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adhere this, and then we'll do our sentiment. And then I don't have the piece in front of me, but we'll add a basic white to the inside of the card so we can write our message to our recipient. Okay, so I have my glue on here, so I'm going to go ahead and lay that black down there. So isn't this gorgeous? Don't you just look at that? And you can line it up as best you can with your images, and that's exactly what we've done here. Isn't that gorgeous? Don't you just love that? All right, so the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in with our sentiment, and I'm going to use our polished pink again because I just love that color and I think it's so pretty and it really pops on the black. And I'm going to use the same sentiment as I used before, where it says hello there. Now you could put birthday or get well or what have you. So I'm going to stamp this. Hopefully I can get it straight. Right down on here. Perfect, except for I got a little smudge because let's flip it over because I rock and rolled it. So, see, I do all the things that you're not supposed to do, so just keep that in mind. I do that on purpose. All right, so we're going to ink it up again. Make sure I got some ink on there. And I always look at it to make sure. All right, so we're going to try this again without me rocking and rolling. So let's push down. I'm gonna let it sit for a minute just to make sure I get all my ink on there. Ah, perfect. There we go. Okay. All right. Now this one we're going to attach with a with our adhesive, and then we are going to use our black, because now if you all don't realize this, we do have black dimensionals. We have them in the minis and the regular size. So keep that in mind. So anytime you're working with dark paper, you know, like your black or your early espresso, anything like that, keep in mind, so if you don't want people to see the white of the dimensionals, use those the black ones, and that will take care of that. So there's our sentiment. Now I'm going to pop this up on 2 of our black. These are regular size black dimensionals, and as you can see, when you pull off the backing, they're black, so you're not going to see them, which makes it much nicer when you look at your card. Now this one, we could put this sentiment here, but I think I kind of like it. Let's put it over here. So I don't want to cover up my flower, so let's put it right here. How's that? We're just gonna put it right about like that. All right, so there we go. There's our sentiment, and there you go. There is our, I'm gonna call it, I guess it's a triple layer card. I don't know what the name of this is. Okay, what do you think about that? Isn't that easy to do? And you can just throw whatever colors together that you want to use, and it's so simple. And it really, again, if you're going to make a bunch of cards, you know, it's really not that difficult once you get everything stamped to put together. All right, so here's this card, and then I'll see you with our next card. Just give me a second. All right, so we're going to be working with the Beauty of Friendship stamp set. This is a 13-piece photopolymer stamp set, and it's the type that you can actually see through. Of course, I've got some cutouts here that I did previously. So we've got some trees, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do when I get ready to stamp those. And then we're also going to work with the coordinating dies that they have, which are called the Beautiful Trees. And there are 9 of these. So you can see that we have, I'm sorry, my cord keeps falling down. Hang on a minute. I'm going to try to glue. I've got him, apparently my washi tape don't want to cooperate, does it? See, I still have issues even though I'm not even live. All right, so these are the dies. We're going to be using the small tree and the big tree, and then I went ahead and I've already cut out 2 of these trees out of crumb cake cardstock. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me put my dies away because I think we're good right now, and put the stamp off to the side. All right, so we're going to start out with a base of basic white, and it's going to be at 5.5 by 5.5 by 8.5. And let's go ahead and put our score on there, and that's going to be at 4.25. So let me bring that in. Bear with me a second. Get my paper trimmer out here. All right, so we're going to line this up, and we don't want our cutting blade, that's for sure. So we're going to use the light one, which is our scoring tool. So since it's 8.5, we're going to do half of that, which is going to be 4.25. So I'm going to go ahead and do a score mark. I want to make sure my lines are lined up straight. So we'll do our little score line there, and that helps us give a good crease to our card. And there's really wrong or right, it doesn't matter which way you fold it, as long as you get these lines lined up evenly. That's all that matters. So then I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a good crease, and we're going to set this off to the side. We're now going to work with a piece of 4 by 5.25 basic white cardstock. Let me get that out. And then this one, this will go on the top, and we're going to pop this up on dimensionals, okay? Now, the first thing that we're going to do is I am going to tear or cut, I'm actually going to cut a strip to go on here to create kind of the grassy, rolling grassy hills, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I've got a scrap in here. Actually, I'm going to use the smaller of the 2, and I put an S on it for scrap. That just lets me know that this is a scrap piece. So all I'm going to do is take my paper snips, and I'm just going to try to cut just something that's going to, you know, kind of be round, kind of give it, you know, some hills and a little bit of, you know, just some extra oomph to it. And so we're just going to kind of continue to cut around, and it's whatever design that you want to use. Now that might be a little bit a little bit more than what I did on this card. So let's go back and let's just do, let's see, we might be able to get this to work. I'll just cut off those pointy things. Let's see, I don't know if I like it sloped or if I like it hills. I don't think I like it like that. So let's do it again. I'm gonna cut another piece. Actually, yeah, I'll do this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start again, but I'm not gonna make it so prevalent. So I'm just gonna come up and make kind of a slope. So we'll just cut it up like it's a slope. And you can make it more hilly if you want. We'll go with this one. I still don't like that one either. I definitely don't like that one. All right, let's go with this one, and we'll just trim this little hill. We'll just trim, let's come back and trim. He looks a little bit too high. So let's come back and we'll just do a little bit of a trim here, and I'm gonna kind of cut that point off. All right, so let's try that. Let's just give that one a whack. Why not? We can have, some can be hilly and some may not be. Now I will trim. I'm going to go ahead and, when we get ready to do this, I'm going to go ahead and color it, and then what I'll do is cut this part off so that it will be a little bit more with our card base, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our, I've got two of our blending brushes, and these are really nice. It feels like hair almost. What I do is I wash them out when I get done. It does leave a little bit of stain, but if you wash them out as soon as you use them, they clean up really well so that you can reuse them again. Some people will buy one for every color. I try to keep using the same color scheme on the particular blending brush. So now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start out with Misty Moonlight. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use this, you always want to have some scratch paper underneath, because we're going to start off, we want to get some ink on our brush. Now you can see by my picture, I've started out kind of try to get it lightly, you know, with some looking like it's got maybe some dark clouds in the picture. Okay, it's whatever you feel like doing. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start off on my scratch paper, and I'm just going to start doing a little swirl, because if you start right on your cardstock, you're going to get a mark that's going to look like that, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to start blending, and I'm just going to bring it over and start blending to get the color that I want. And you just keep blending until you get the right color scheme. And I want to start out with it a little bit light, and I'll probably go darker when I get a little bit towards, or go lighter towards the bottom. But I want to try to get as much of this ink off of here as I can. So I'm just going to keep blending this down, and I'll add some more ink in just a minute. So you can see how it's coming in quite light, right? So let's get a little bit more, and again, I'm going to dab it off because I don't want to have that much, and I'm going to just come back in again. Now see how it's coming in a little bit darker? So, and again, it's your choice. You just keep swirling however you want your scene to look like. And this is going to be a little bit darker, which is fine. It could be a nighttime for all we know, right? So I'm just going to keep bringing it down and getting it off the edges. And you can see right there I've got a little bit much on the edge, but we're not going to worry about that. It'll be fine. And if it bothers you, you know, we can always trim that off a little bit. So I'm going to bring that down so it looks like the trees are kind of up in the sky. All right, now see how I've got some dark there? So I'm going to try to do a little bit more blending. We'll go the opposite direction and see if we can kind of get that a little softened, just a little bit. Not too much, but we just want to soften that up. Okay, and that's fine. That could be like a dark cloud coming in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close up this for now. And now we're going to bring in our Pear Pizzazz, which we're going to create on our piece that we just cut off. And I think this is the one that we're going to use. So I'm going to set this up here. Now let's go ahead and grab our other blender. And then this one we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to start blending to get my grass on here. And you just want to blend. Now again, I probably should have done a piece and cut it afterwards, but that's okay. We're going to make it work, right? So we're just going to blend that in, and I'm going to hold it down so I can get a good pressure on it. And I just make swirling motions. It's whatever. You got to be careful. Of course, obviously I'm getting lines in it because I'm folding it and I want to hold it. But I'm just want to get enough color to give it some depth down here in the grass. So I'm going to try to make, and again, it's whatever you know, it's your, there's no right or wrong way, to be honest with you. You just color it to whatever color you want. All right, so let's get some, I'm going to try to get some dark down here because this I think would be the darker part, right? So let's just come down here and get a little bit of dark and hold it so it doesn't bend anymore. And just keep swirling it. It's not, you know, there's no right or wrong way, right? And I think that's good. Let's see. Let's do a little bit, let's try to get a little bit darker edges, like right on the edge here. So let's try to see if we can get some dark here. And I'm just going to push the brush on it, see if we can get some dark edges. And the other thing that we can do also is you can kind of use this like a blending brush. So let's just go through it like that, and we'll just add a little bit of edge and try to get some darker edges on it. All right, so I think that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach this. But the one thing that I want to do is I want to leave an opening because I want to stick, one of my trees is going to go down and this one's going to sit on top. But the tree we're going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of dirt down here so it doesn't look like it's just hanging by itself. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to attach this. I will go ahead and add this to the end here, but I'll trim off the bottom. So let's add our adhesive. And again, I want to leave a little bit of a pocket. So let's put some on the side. And again, I'm going to cut some of this off. We're going to cut it off on this side here. And then I'm going to put a little bit here, put some here, and a little bit there, because I'm not sure where we're going to put our tree. So we're going to go ahead and pop this over. Let's see. So I think we're going to end up putting our trees where the two bottom things are, but we'll see. Let's get this on here. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this. And if you've got any hanging over, again, we're just going to trim it right off. And that could be at the top or the bottom, okay? So we're going to leave some pockets here so that we can get our tree. We'll probably put them right in this area here. So for this, I'm just going to trim this off so it just coordinates with the side, you know, just even with the side of the cardstock. Okay, we'll get that a little bit closer. Hang on. We'll trim that off a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, so there's our grass. Now again, we could do it darker if we want to get some darker ink on that, but I think that's fine. Now I did cut out two of the trees out of crumb cake, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a blending. I didn't bring my suede, but I've got my soft suede marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to, we'll see, instead of we're just going to put some ink on here using our marker. This is another, or you can use your marker, either way. So I'm going to take, and this part's going to be covered up, right, because we're going to cover it with our tree, but I want to do some blending on the bottom of the trunk to get it to be a little bit darker. So I'm just going to lay this down and try to do that, okay, because we don't want it to look so stark. All right, so we're going to get that a little bit darker. And again, this part up here is not going to be seen. Or you could take your brush and you could do your marker. You could do the same thing. You could just rub it on the sides if you want to get a darker effect, if that's what you want to have. And then I'm going to come back and use my blending. I'm going to put some more ink on here. And then I want to blend that along the base of the trunk. So you can see how that blending it will help. And I'm just rubbing down the trunk, and I'm going to do this one a little, let's do this one a little bit darker. Again, I'm just putting some of the ink on my sponge. All right, and then this one I think we'll add a little bit more down here as well. Okay, so that's that. Now let's go ahead and attach our trees. We're going to go ahead and attach the trees, and I went ahead and let me show you how to stamp them. And then I went ahead and cut them out, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So let me go ahead and let's see, which one do we want to use? We'll use this one. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp just to show you. We're going to use spruce, shaded spruce. And I've got ink all over this thing. All right, so we're going to use the shaded spruce for the trees. Now I am going to stamp. I want to show you how this works. I'm going to do the large stamp. Now you've got, it's a two-step stamp. We have one which is the actual tree itself. So let me go ahead and mimic this one. So we're going to stamp this down. Okay. Now, I think it looks fine like that, right? But see the holes? So we're going to come back in with the other stamp, which is this one, and we are going to, let me clean this other one off. Then we're going to add the other ink, which is going to fill in the areas of the branch, the tree that looks like it's missing. And you'll see how we're going to line this up. Now, if you look at this stamp, put my hands down there, you see right here, it looks like a little trunk. So we're going to line that up, this area right here, and we're going to line up the tip. So we're going to take it, and we're going to ink it up in the same ink, all right, shaded spruce, and then we're going to lay it on top. Let me stand up so I can do this without messing it up. So I'm going to line it up. So if you line it, I can see exactly where my trunk will line up, and then we will, once we've got it lined up the way we want it to look like, then we've got our tips together. It looks pretty good to me, so we're just going to push it down. Let it sit for a minute, make sure we get all our stuff. Now you can see where I moved it and it got a little blurry right there. So let's do the smaller one. Now I went ahead and got these cut out. So let's do the small tree, and let's do that again and show you how you have to just be careful, because it will, if you don't get them lined up just right, it will make that move. And when you push it through the die cut emboss machine, you definitely want to use some tape to hold it down. Okay, so this is the smaller tree that we're going to use, right? So let me go in here and change that out. Give me a minute. And then we're going to bring in the other one, and you got to make sure you get it going the right way. It kind of looks like a heart. All right, so we got ink on that one. Now we do. All right, so we're going to line this up. And I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to push that down and pull up. So you see this one again is blurry, so you don't want that to happen. But see how it fills in the trees? All right. Okay, so I went ahead and did that in advance, so you wouldn't have to see the table shaking up a storm. Let me cover up my ink. I didn't bring any baby wipes with me. I don't know what. Look at my hands, they're already green. All right, and here are the trees that I cut out earlier. Okay, so we're going to push those off to the side. Now I'm going to go ahead and add these. Let me see if I added, what did I do? Yeah, I put dimensional on these as well. So we're going to add some adhesive right to this part. And let me get my craft mat out. And all of these supplies that I'm using, the craft mat is a must-have, the paper trimmer is a must-have. These can all be found in my online store. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive on here, just a little bit on the branches, and then I'm going to pop this guy up on dimensionals as well. But I'm going to place him on my tree first, just so that he's attached to it, and I'm going to pull it up, so we don't want that to show, that little branch right there. And I'll come back and color if I need to adjust the coloring. So let's put some dimensionals on this little guy. And I pulled them out. What did I do with them? Oh, they're leaning right over. All right, so we're gonna put a couple of dimensionals on here. So, and these will also help to hold your tree down. I'm just gonna put 3 because this is the smaller one, okay? So that's that one. And then we're gonna come back with this one and we're gonna do the same thing. Now I'll go ahead and add a little bit more up there just to make sure that he gets covered. So we'll add some more adhesive right here on the tree itself. And we'll tack this guy. Let me put some on this. Put some on these branches. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and place this one down as well. And you can have it as high or as low as you want it, right? So I'm going to put that one just about like that. All right, and then we'll add some dimensionals on this one as well. So we'll put one up there, and we'll put one here. Put one there in the corner, and then I'm going to stick one in the center just to make sure it's even. Okay, now I want this guy, I'm going to put the little one behind, so I'm going to slide him down in here. Let me pull my dimensionals off, the backings, and let's go ahead and slide him right here. So I lifted this up just so that I could get him in there. So I want to put him down a little bit, and if it's too big, you can always trim it off if you want it to go in, if you want it to be smaller, because I want this one to look like it's in the background. So we're going to lay him right here, and then this one, actually, he needs to be moved over. Hang on a second. Let's move him over just a tad, because I'll pull this one up. Hang on a minute. And we're going to get him right in here. So I don't want these guys hanging like they're hanging off the, push him in, and then we'll put him right there. Okay, so this one we're going to lay right about like this, okay? Now this one, he's going to be right, so I think I'm going to trim some of this off. So I'm just going to trim a little bit at the bottom, and then I'll come back. I'm just going to trim a little bit, and I'm going to kind of brush that just a little bit with brown. We'll put him right about there, okay? And then I think what I want to do is I want to take, and hopefully I don't mess it up, we're going to take the backings off our dimensionals. All right, and we're going to lay him right about here, because I don't want him to come off my card. So we're going to lay him right about there. Okay, now I am going to put a little bit of adhesive. Now this one I didn't because it was tucked under. This one I'm just going to put a little dab of adhesive right here to hold this down. All right. See if we put enough on there to hold it. Let me just give it, hold it with my snips for a minute. And then we're going to come in, because I don't want him to sit here like he's just kind of flouncing around, right? So I'm going to take, there's this little piece here that looks like a mound, and I'm going to color it with my marker. That's one thing about the markers, the nice thing that you can do with these is you can color your images. So if you don't have the ability to buy all the ink sets like we all want, this is a great way that you can get all the colors and then buy your inks as you want. So I'm going to stamp this on my white here because I want to see how it's going to look. And I'm going to stamp it both directions. One looks like a mound and one doesn't. So I think I'm going to stamp it as if it's like a shadow, if you will. So I think I'm going to stamp it like that. And we're just going to give that a good push right there. And that way it's kind of grounded, okay? And then we can come in just a little bit and hide that. All right, so there's that. Now, the next thing that we need to do before we add our dimensionals is we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment. And I'm going to use the same one, Thinking of You, out of the same set. And I'm going to do this in Misty Moonlight. And it will be full strength, so, and I'm going to place it right over on the side just like I did the other one. So we've got it all nice and inked up. Now we could put it up here if we'd like, something different. Now this one, if you notice, I stamped the Thinking by itself and Of You separately, and see, this is all one stamp. So I think I'll do this one, we'll put it right about here. So you'll see how you can ink, and that's where I use my markers. And I did the same thing. Do you see? I did that one, Thinking of You separately. Okay? So that's just something else that you can do. All right, so let's go ahead and attach our dimensionals, and then we will be done with this card. It's just a really easy card that you can make, but it really does kind of give that wow effect, don't you think? All right, so let's get our dimensionals on here. Actually, since this piece is kind of big, we're just going to go ahead and put 3 on each side. Makes it a little bit easier. So we'll put 3 there, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and peel these off and get this card finished. All right. All right, so we've got all of those done. We're going to bring in our card base, and I am going to lay this right on here. We should have a little bit of a white border on both sides. All right, and then there is our card, and of course you can stamp anything on the inside that you like. All right, so there's our 2 cards. What do you think? Aren't they cute? It's a very simple and easy card. I kind of like the hills than this one. I like this one too, but I really think the thing really helps to ground the tree. All right. Thank you, everyone, for spending your Tuesday evening with me. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to share and like my video, and I will see you next week where I will be coming to you live from Fort Myers. Thanks again, and I appreciate y'all watching.